On August 16, 2025, in Anchorage, Alaska, U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin met at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson to discuss peace in Ukraine. The world watched as these two leaders debated land concessions and the future of the conflict. The irony was striking. They stood on land Russia sold to the U.S. over 150 years ago, partly because of a war over Crimea, the very region now at the heart of their talks. No final deal was reached, but both sides agreed to continue negotiations, leaving the outcome uncertain. President Trump managed expectations, while Putin used the summit to break his international isolation. Ukrainian President Zelensky, not present, insisted any agreement must include Ukraine's voice. The summit's location was a silent reminder. History's echoes shaped today's diplomacy. Russia's path to Alaska began with the bold vision of Tsar Peter the Great in the early 1700s. Eager to expand his empire's reach and unlock new sources of wealth, Peter looked eastward, beyond the vast Siberian wilderness, toward the unknown lands across the sea. He imagined Russia as a global power, stretching from Europe to the farthest edges of the Pacific. To turn his dream into reality, Peter sent the Danish explorer Vitus Bering on a daring expedition to chart the empire's eastern limits. Braving treacherous seas and uncharted territory, Bering's journey led to the discovery of the narrow waterway that now bears his name, the Bering Strait, proving that Asia and North America were separated by only a thin ribbon of water. News of this discovery spread quickly, and soon Russian hunters, known as pro-Mishleniki, crossed into Alaska. They were drawn by the promise of sea otter pelts, prized as soft gold for their incredible value in trade with China. These pelts became the lifeblood of Russian expansion, fueling a rush of adventurers and traders into the new frontier. The fur trade drove Russia's relentless push eastward, leading to the creation of scattered outposts across the harsh, unforgiving Alaskan wilderness. Life here was difficult and dangerous, with profit as the main motivator for those who braved the elements and isolation. In 1799, the Russian-American Company was chartered by imperial decree, formalizing Russia's claim to Alaska and attempting to bring order to the chaos of the fur trade. The company acted as both a commercial enterprise and a governing authority, shaping the region's future. The company established settlements and trading posts reaching as far south as California. Yet, despite these efforts, Alaska remained a wild, sparsely populated land, its vastness resisting full control and settlement. Russian America was less a traditional colony and more a commercial venture, its fortunes rising and falling with the fur trade. The pursuit of profit shaped every aspect of life, from daily routines to international relations. For the indigenous peoples of Alaska, the arrival of Russian hunters and traders brought profound upheaval. Their lives, lands, and traditions were forever changed as new forces swept through their homeland. Over time, the Russian government tried to impose more control, sending officials and establishing laws. But the territory's vastness, remoteness, and harsh climate made effective governance a constant challenge, and order was often more a hope than a reality. Alaska's story began as a tale of ambition, commerce, and the relentless pursuit of wealth, a land where dreams of empire met the raw power of nature, setting the stage for the dramatic chapters yet to come. The Russian-American Company, led by Alexander Baranov, made Sitka the capital of Russian America. The colony's sole purpose was economic harvesting sea otter pelts for profit. Indigenous peoples, especially the Unangaks and Alutiiq, were forced into dangerous servitude as hunters. Disease, violence, and exploitation followed, disrupting traditional societies. The Tlingit fiercely resisted Russian encroachment, destroying the original Sitka settlement in 1802. Only after a brutal campaign in 1804 did the Russians re-establish control. The fur trade's wealth came at a devastating cost to Alaska's original inhabitants. Russian America's legacy is one of ambition, conflict, and profound disruption. By the mid-1800s, Alaska's fur trade was collapsing. Sea otters were nearly wiped out. The colony became a financial burden, with supply lines stretching thousands of miles and costs soaring. Russian settlers were few, isolated, and dependent on unreliable shipments from Europe. Attempts to build a self-sufficient society failed. Alaska remained a string of outposts clinging to the coast. The dream of a thriving Russian colony faded as profits dried up. St. Petersburg saw only losses and logistical nightmares. Alaska, once a prized asset, was now a liability. The empire questioned whether to hold on to this distant, costly territory. The stage was set for a dramatic decision. The Crimean War, 1853-1856, devastated Russia, exposing its military weakness and draining its treasury. The war made it clear Alaska was indefensible against British power in nearby Canada. Russian leaders feared losing Alaska in a future conflict, getting nothing in return. Selling the territory became a strategic option, better to gain something than lose everything. The empire needed cash for reforms and modernization after the war. Alaska, remote and unprofitable, was expendable. The decision to sell was driven by financial desperation and military vulnerability. Russia's focus shifted to its heartland, leaving its American outpost behind. The sale of Alaska was now inevitable. Russia needed a buyer for Alaska, and the United States was the only real option. Selling to Britain was unthinkable. The goal was to block British expansion, not help it. The U.S. and Russia shared a wary view of Britain and had built goodwill during the American Civil War. America's manifest destiny and financial strength made it the perfect candidate. The sale would frustrate British ambitions, raise much-needed funds, and strengthen a friendly power in the Pacific. For Russia, selling to the U.S. solved multiple problems at once. Alaska was a burden. America was eager to expand. The deal was a calculated move to turn a liability into an asset. In the spring of 1867, intense negotiations unfolded between Russian Minister Eduard de Steckel and U.S. Secretary of State William Seward. Both men, seasoned diplomats, understood the stakes were high, not just for their own countries, but for the future of North America itself. Seward, a visionary and a champion of American expansion, recognized Alaska's immense strategic value. He moved quickly, determined to secure the territory before other powers could intervene. He saw Alaska as a gateway to the Pacific and Asia, a land rich in untapped resources, and a buffer against rival empires. Seward's decisiveness would shape the nation's destiny. The agreed price, $7.20 million, was a staggering sum at the time, yet it amounted to less than 2 cents an acre for a territory twice the size of Texas. The sheer scale of the purchase was almost unimaginable, and the deal was finalized with a simple signature. News of the purchase swept across the nation, sparking ridicule and disbelief. Critics dubbed it Seward's Folly, Seward's Icebox, and even Wall Russia, mocking the idea of buying a frozen, distant land. Many Americans saw Alaska as nothing more than a barren, icy wasteland, a place with little promise and no clear purpose. After the devastation of the Civil War, the public questioned spending millions on what seemed like a useless expanse of snow and ice. The skepticism was widespread and loud, but Seward was undeterred. He lobbied Congress relentlessly, emphasizing Alaska's vast natural resources, its strategic location, and the opportunities it could bring for future generations. His persistence paid off. On April 9, 1867, the Senate ratified the treaty, setting the stage for a new chapter in American history. On October 18th, the American flag was raised in Sitka, marking the official transfer of Alaska from Russian to American hands and ending the era of Russian America. The United States had acquired a vast, wild new frontier, one that few Americans could yet imagine would become so important. Though the true value of Alaska was not immediately clear, the deal was sealed, and the land's future was now tied to America's own. In time, history would prove Seward right. Alaska's gold, oil, and natural beauty would transform it into a vital part of the nation. The American era in Alaska had begun, opening a new chapter of opportunity, adventure, and discovery. For decades after its purchase, Alaska seemed to justify its critics. Remote, sparsely populated, and often ignored by Washington. Many Americans saw it as a frozen wilderness, disconnected from the rest of the country, and wondered if the so-called Seward's Folly would ever amount to anything more than a distant outpost. But everything changed with the Klondike Gold Rush in the 1890s. Prospectors from across the continent flooded north, braving harsh conditions in search of fortune. Alaska's once quiet ports suddenly boomed with activity, and new towns sprang up almost overnight, forever altering the region's destiny. Gold was just the beginning. Alaska's immense wealth soon revealed itself in other ways. Salmon teemed in its rivers, copper veins ran deep beneath its mountains, and eventually, vast reserves of oil were discovered, each resource drawing new waves of settlers and investment. The 1968 discovery of oil at Prudhoe Bay, followed by the construction of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, transformed the state's fortunes almost overnight. Suddenly, Alaska was at the center of America's energy future, and its economic prospects soared. In 1976, the Alaska Permanent Fund was created, ensuring that oil wealth would be shared with all residents. Each year, Alaskans receive a dividend, a unique benefit that sets the state apart and helps build strong, vibrant communities. Alaska's strategic importance also grew during World War II and the Cold War. Military bases, radar systems, and airfields were built across the state, making Alaska a crucial line of defense and a key player in America's national security. In 1959, after years of debate and determination, Alaska became the 49th state. Its value to the nation was now undeniable, and Alaskans celebrated their new place in the American family. The so-called folly had become a treasure, as Alaska's towns grew and its people prospered, reshaping the state's image in the eyes of the nation. Alaska's abundant resources and strategic location made it vital to America's economy and security, ensuring its continued importance on the national stage. The state's story is one of remarkable transformation, from an overlooked outpost to a powerhouse of industry, culture, and opportunity. The purchase that was once mocked as a mistake has paid off many times over, fueling prosperity and growth for generations. Today, Alaska's American identity is secure. Its people are proud citizens, deeply connected to both their land and their country. The gamble had become a triumph, and Alaska stands as a testament to vision, resilience, and the enduring promise of the American frontier. Today, the Alaska Purchase is hailed in the U.S. as a masterstroke, $7.2 million for a land of oil, minerals, and strategic power. Alaska's resources have generated vast wealth and secured America's Arctic presence. Its military value proved crucial in World War II, the Cold War, and now in the 21st century Arctic race. For Americans, it's a story of vision and reward. In Russia, the sale is remembered with regret, a lost opportunity, a symbol of imperial weakness. Some nationalists still lament the decision, though most historians understand the desperate circumstances. The 2025 Anchorage summit brought these legacies into focus. For the U.S., a triumph. For Russia, a reminder of loss. The sale of Alaska remains a powerful lesson in how history, strategy, and chance shape nations. Its echoes still influence the relationship between two global powers.